Hello everyone. Welcome to Confessions Jury, where Reddit's AITAH stories go on trial. Make sure to listen carefully and express your verdict in the comments section below. Moving on to the first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for refusing to move back into my home because my husband moved his ex-wife in without asking me? I, 29F, husband 34M, and I have been married for 2 years, and we've had an unconventional living arrangement that worked for us until recently. I travel frequently for work, so I keep an apartment in another city where I stay during the week. My husband lives in our shared home, where I come back on weekends, and we make it work. Everything was fine until about 3 weeks ago when he dropped a bombshell on me. His ex-wife, 32F, lost her job and couldn't afford her rent. Without discussing it with me first, he offered her to move into our home temporarily until she gets back on her feet. To clarify, this is the mother of his 10-year-old son, and they've always maintained a cordial relationship for the sake of their kid. But I feel blindsided and betrayed because this is a huge decision he made alone, and now she's living in my home. When I told him I wasn't comfortable with her being there, he told me I was being selfish and that this was about helping his son's mother, not rekindling anything romantic. He's acting like this is all about doing what's best for his son's stability. But I can't help but feel disrespected. Why didn't he talk to me first? It's like my opinion doesn't matter in our marriage. To make matters worse, the ex-wife seems way too comfortable with the situation. She's acting like this is her home too. She redecorated the guest room without asking anyone, and even suggested we all sit down for family dinners on weekends, which I absolutely refuse to do. I told my husband that until she moves out, I won't be coming back to the house. He's furious, calling me immature, and saying I'm choosing my pride over his son's well-being. He claims I'm acting out of jealousy, but it's not about that. It's about boundaries. Then things got even more complicated. My husband revealed that his ex-wife has been struggling with mental health issues, and that if she doesn't show stability, she could lose custody of their son. He's terrified that she might spiral, and their son could end up in the foster care system. He framed it as if I'm the one standing in the way of his son's future, and now I'm feeling incredibly guilty. But at the same time, I feel like this is being used to manipulate me into accepting a situation that I'm not okay with. My husband admitted that he's been financially supporting her for months without telling me. He said it was just to help her out with groceries and bills, but this feels like a betrayal too. I thought we were supposed to be a team, but he's been making major decisions behind my back that impact our life together. I know she's the mother of his child, but where are the boundaries? Am I just supposed to let her live in my house indefinitely? What happens if she never gets back on her feet? And how am I supposed to feel knowing my husband has been secretly helping her financially? I feel like I'm being gaslight into accepting something that makes me uncomfortable. But now I'm wondering if I'm being heartless for prioritizing my comfort over his son's well-being. Am I the bad person for refusing to move back in and setting this boundary? Or am I overreacting? What do you think about this one? Lay down the hammer in the comments section, and let's move on to the second case. Case 2. Am I the bad person for exposing my mom's hypocrisy in front of her friends? My 26M mother, 52F, has a big mouth, especially when it comes to me. I've stopped talking to her about my personal stuff because whenever I do, our whole congregation finds out about it. I remember when I was a kid, I had to kill a snake. It pained me to have to kill such a small and cute animal, but it had to be done. After I was done, I had to cry. My mother was there. She demanded I tell her why I was crying. Then I explained to her why, and I asked her to keep it between us. She did. 3 hours later, I hear her blabbing to everyone about it. A week later, her friends are poking fun at me for it, and I was fuming. Years later, I had some surgery done, and I used the bathroom on myself because of the medicine. Her best friend calls me later and asks me if I'm alright, and if I should have gotten the surgery going to the bathroom on myself is going to be my new normal. It's not. Water just flew through me as I was taking the medicine. I can list off so many other things too. Way worse ones too. But the post would be too long. Today, I came home after running some errands and my mother and her friends are over at our place. I come in and I join in and we're all talking. I'm told some personal things going on with a family friend and why they've been acting so different recently. The person told my mother this information in confidence, but share with who is close with them. She then tells me not to tell anyone, saying I have a big mouth and can't keep a secret. I was probably the asshole here. I then said, I really wish you'd stop saying that when you're the one who ends up telling everybody. It went silent. Matter of fact, you can't keep a secret. You know how many things I've told you in confidence, just for you to tell all your friends? You're a hypocrite. Some freaking how you managed to convince yourself I'm the guy spilling the beans. Don't tell me that shit. It stays silent until I go to my room. My father thinks I did too much. My best friend thinks I did too much. Both agree I should have just humored her in front of her friends. I ask if she's a 50-year-old woman of a fucking teenager. I don't buy her bullshit, because I don't talk to her for that exact reason. Did I overreact? What about that? Who would you rule for? State down your ruling, and let's move on to our third case. Case 3. Am I the bad person for telling my son he should live with his mother if he won't apologize and be respectful? My son is 15. I was sharing parenting 50-50 with X. We had a falling out because he was doing things like sneaking out late night, lying, vaping, and generally getting into mischief. He decided to go live with his mother full time. 9 months later, he had a falling out with her. Again, sneaking out, stealing alcohol, generally been disrespectful. I offered for him to come live with me full time again, and he promised no more issues. Fast forward another 9 months. He has been skipping school classes almost every day. Failed every class in midterm report card. He lost all his friends and started getting bullied at school. I met with the school. We came up with a plan for him to finish the 6 weeks of junior high and then do work placement, etc. He promises he will go to school, but forges the daily reporting booklet they give him and still keeps truanting. Wife and I had a 10-day holiday we had booked long before. He is 16 at this point. I had organized for him to stay with his mom, but he asks me if he can stay home to go to school, as he would have to get up too early. She lives like an hour away. I agreed because he promised he would go. I arranged for my father-in-law and mother-in-law to visit him every day to check on him. Say he can stay with them if he is lonely or needs help. His mother had also been in contact with him, and they were on talking terms again. Whilst I am away, he doesn't go to school at all for any days. Firstly, he claims sickness that I agreed to for 3 days, knowing it was BS. Then on the 5th day, I refused to say he was sick and told the school he was just deciding to not go. Meanwhile, he has been talking to his mother, and they decided it would be a good idea for him to homeschool. All this while I am away. So he basically drops out of school, and now has to repeat the entire year, even though he only had 6 weeks left. I was so disappointed with him, and explained that he had done the wrong thing, etc. He then proceeds to call me every name under the sun, saying he wishes I wasn't his dad. I don't care about him, and threatens to call child services on me because I left him unattended at home, and that it is child negligence, even though he is the one who convinced me to let him stay. I even told him to go back to his mom's halfway though, when I realized he had no intention of going to school. So now I have lost all trust and faith in him. I said to him, you need to firstly apologize and then treat me with respect and never speak to me like this, otherwise he can pack his bags and stay with his mother. I gave him multiple chances to apologize, never lost my cool or anything. He said he will never apologize and doesn't care. At this point, I'm genuinely considering cutting him out of my life permanently. It hurts because he can be a good kid sometimes, but the constant lies, mood swings, verbal abuse, swinging between mom and dad, depending on who gives in. He has caused so many stresses between everyone. Am I the bad person for considering cutting ties and any future assistance after he is 18? I don't know what to rule for. What do you guys think? Type your verdict in the comments section as we move on to our next case. Case 4. Am I the bad person if I tell my husband that my inheritance is not his as well? So long story, but my 20 female grandfather passed a couple years ago and probate court is just now getting started. Another long story for another day, lol, but it is finally happening. A little backstory: my grandfather on my mom's side simply left his estate in thirds to me, my cousin, 25 female, and his last living child, my mother, 52 female. This is written in a will and had been discussed with my grandfather before his passing as to what he wanted. It has its regulations regarding when we can get our money. The will says that we can get it once we are 25 years old, unless we need some for things like housing, school, car, etc. that my mom, the executor, would have to sign off on. Side note, me and my mom are not currently on the best terms, but another long story for another day. But my real predicament is that my husband, 20 male, is upset that my insurance has its regulations as to age and how I get my money. He wants my mom or my cousin to sign off on it so I can just have it. But I feel like that is just not how things will go down. And it really doesn't bother me if I can't do anything with the money. Until I'm 25, my grandfather made that rule for a reason. But the way my husband speaks of the money, I feel he believes he also is interested in this, and I'm not sure if I should just ask him to let me handle it because it's my money, or if it is also his money because of us being married. Side note, in my state, an inheritance is considered separate property and is not subject to division during a divorce unless it becomes marital property. Another side note, my husband only met my grandfather once or twice before his passing, and this has been discussed and planned way before my husband was ever in my life. In this way, my husband's fear is that I will have to either wait for the money or that my family will spend it if they are in charge of it, but I believe that they would need me to do anything to it per the will. What do you think the fair ruling should be? You hold the power of judgment. State your ruling in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.